Hey, welcome to the Outdoor Adventure Hour. I'm your host this week. This is Rob Lupo with Lupo Outdoors. And the reason why we're laughing is we just did this introduction and realized we had not hit go live, which was
Oh,
completely.
what's this we thing? You're in the driver's seat this week. You forgot to hit go live. All I
Yeah.
gotta say is, thank God it is Friday.
Hey, this week we're going to be talking about backwoods protection options. With me today is my really good friend who proceeds to laugh at me all the time, Jason with the Rogue Banshee. But we wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of bringing protection with you when you're in the backwoods. I mean, out here in Florida, we have the Everglades, you have the woods in Montana, you have the deep woods in Alaska. But when you're out there, and you're either camping, hunting, fishing, or whatever. If you're hunting, you have some protection, but it may not be the proper protection for the hostilities in that specific area. Jason, expand upon this now that we're actually live.
Well, now that we're live, and really, Lupo and I were talking about this the other day because we're like, because I couldn't be on last week's podcast, but we were talking about this thing, and I came up with the idea of backwoods protection because of being here in Montana. I was in FFL for 10 years, and we get a lot of people that move into the area that don't really understand, like, the dangers. And I'm not worried about the two-legged animals out there. I'm worried about the four-legged animals. Um,
Or the
and yeah, they go
no-legged
out there.
animals.
Yeah, and then people go out there with like a 9mm. They go out with like a Glock 17 or Glock 19. It's like, that's just not going to do it, right? I mean, you're going to want something a little bit bigger of caliber, and the backwoods caliber of a pistol here is the 10mm. The 10mm, a 10mm, a Glock in 10mm is pretty much the go-to for everybody, here in Montana. That's if you're in the semi-auto. I mean, of course, you got the 357s, the 44s, 41. You got all kinds of revolver calibers too. And that's the thing is, I like what you're talking about is that if you're hunting, you have some protection, but you don't, like, out here, you might come across a mountain lion. Well, by the time I get a rifle up to protect myself, it'd just be easier to pull a pistol right off a chest rig, right? I
Well,
mean, it'd be a
yeah,
lot safer.
you have to take in consideration, what you're hunting for, right?
Yes.
Because if you're out there, like when I lived in Montana, we would hunt for grouse, right? So
Yep.
we're doing like 20 gauge bird shot, right? They ain't gonna
Yeah.
do dactyly squat. But my dad always carried slugs with him in case we ran into a bear, like we did. But the thing is, in Montana you have rattlesnakes,
Yep.
and you have mountain lions, and you have wolves, and you have to be prepared to protect yourself from all those, and bears, right? So a 20 gauge bird shot isn't going to do anything except for
Oh,
protect you against rattlesnakes, because that would work okay. But you need that backup that allows you the flexibility. So like if you're out there hunting and you have a 270, and a rattlesnake's right next to you, you better
you're not
have
gonna hit
really
it.
good aim, because you're just
Yeah.
going to piss it off.
Well,
You know?
you might actually shoot yourself at that, trying to
Yeah,
bait that
yeah,
rattlesnake.
yeah. It's
Um,
amazing how snakes will make you run into trees.
yeah, that too, totally. Um, and that's the funny thing is, people don't realize some of the dangers out there. Like when I moved to Montana, you know, uh, people used to laugh at me. My truck guns was my Dan Wesson in 357 and my M1 Garand. That was my rifle that was in the truck. And people used to laugh. They're like, And then when Brand, I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's like a 12-pound rifle. I could swing that thing as like a baseball bat if I needed to. But that's the thing is, at least I had some outdoors from the East Coast. Now, coming out here, you start hearing about all these other calibers that we just didn't really see out there. And you start realizing that you just might not know. You don't know what you don't know yet, right? And then now, for me being here, I understand the threats here. But if I were to if I would come down to Florida there, I have no idea how to deal with a gator, right?
Well, that's the key, So let's kind of break it down a little bit. When you're talking about protecting yourself, so let me just cover Florida law here. So we have concealed carry here in Florida. We have constitutional concealed carry. So you don't need a permit. Permit, yeah, it's not really constitutional because we don't have open carry. But we do have open carry if you're going to and from fishing, if you're going to and from hunting, or if you're camping. So if you're camping, you can open carry. So there's a lot of videos out there. They're on YouTube where the guy's walking with an AR-15 and he's got his fishing pole, and they always get stopped because somebody always makes a phone call. And I mean, I get the idea about it is, but I mean, to me, it's more clickbait than it's trying to get the message out. But when you are, if you're walking to a pier to fish, you're allowed to open carry. Now, if you're out at a lake or you're camping here, so here we have where they water moccasins or copperheads we have here, one or the other, or maybe both. We have alligators. If you're in southern Florida, you have alligators and crocodiles. How many of you actually knew that Florida is the only other place in the world where, aside from like Australia and Africa and stuff like that, that we have crocodiles, and they're indigenous here. They're not transplanted. We have indigenous crocodiles here. So we have poisonous snakes. We have alligators, depending where you are, crocodiles. We have bears. We have coyotes. We have, wild boars. Dude, it's crazy sauce here. So the key thing is my father, when I lived with him out in Montana, his favorite saying is, I'd rather have a gun when I'm in the woods and not need it than need it and not have it.
Not have it. Yep.
And he ironically did not follow his own advice when he was living in Montana. I'm not sorry, when he moved to Alaska. So he's over there in Anchorage, Alaska, and he's like in his yard, it's like, I don't need a fire when I'm in my yard, blah, blah, blah. I'm not in the deep woods, blah, blah, blah. And he's out there and he's, planting a new tree, and he freaking turns around and there's a grizzly bear between him and his front door, and he didn't have a firearm. The grizzly bear passed on by, fortunately. And from that day forward, when he was gardening or out in the front yard doing anything and not, focusing, he had a shoulder holster with a casoul. So he has his 4.54 casoul, on him at all times. He goes, you know what? Everything's the woods in Alaska. Everything's the woods. I myself have been chased out of the woods by a bear in Alaska when I was in the 8th grade.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about Alaska. Everything's trying to freaking kill you in Alaska.
Well, not necessarily everything. No, ex-girlfriends too. Yeah, that's right. I mean, the one place in the world where everything's trying to kill you is Australia. Yeah, everything in there is freaking poisonous. But so let's kind of look at it, because here we have all these things out here. Um, so, you know, you got to analyze where you're at and then figure out the proper way of protection. And it doesn't always mean a firearm. In Alaska, they have bear kits that you buy, and it's a little briefcase, and in it is a big ass can of bear mace. And sometimes that's all you need. Oh my god, dude, that the bear mace is just. I watched videos of bears kind of charging and then stopping dead in their tracks and just freaking out and fleeing, at full things with a face full of bear mace.
So, what's in bear mace? I mean, why is it any different? Is it just
Um,
volume, or
it's the essence of hell, isn't? Yeah, I don't
so
know.
basically make sure you understand the wind direction before you spray that.
Yeah, it bear mace is nasty. Now, I know people in Alaska. Yeah, Alaska. I can speak English. I've been doing it for about quite a few years now. Um, so I know people in Alaska who carry wasp spray with them because it has about a 30-foot stream.
There's
And
there's a problem with that though,
what's that?
because I know people that talk about wasp spray for personal protection. The problem with using wasp spray is if you read the label specifically says use of this other than its intended, its intended use is against federal law. So if you get caught with that, you could be charged with a federal crime. So be
I,
careful.
Honestly,
Careful with
I
that.
think the chances of that is slim to none.
Now,
When you're in the
well,
middle of the woods.
it depends, right? But I mean, trust me, I'm very much under the impression of, I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6, right?
Yep.
But there are certain things you need to watch out for. I love the idea of the wasp spray just because of the distance. But if you get into an area, I mean, what happens if there's, I don't know, a tree hugger, or somebody who just has a bug up their butt? You could be in a lot of trouble for using that other than its intended purpose.
So the key on that is I was aiming at a wasp nest,
Yes,
and this
yeah.
bear got
You
in the
just
way.
just make sure you get your story straight, right?
Yeah. I
And,
mean, it's
and
like, so in Alaska, like I said, I know people who carry it because wasp spray is like $8 or $9 and bear mace is like $40, $50. You know,
yeah,
now mind you, bear mace is probably the more suggested route to go. I mean, it's super potent. But in a pinch, carry wasp spray. That stuff is just so. There is a guy up there who is he's a hunting guide, and he usually takes people in Alaska out for bighorn sheep and stuff. And he's awesome, great guy. Stayed at his place when my father passed away, and he's carried it. He's carried wasp spray. He goes, it's very inexpensive. If I happen to lose the can, when I'm checking out, it's not that big of a deal. But he goes, I was face to face with a bear, and I gave it a face full of wasp spray, and it fled. Just mean stuff. Bear mace is more potent and probably far more powerful. So you have to take in considerations what's out there. And like you said, I'd rather be
I
judged
re-
than
judged by
carried.
yeah, I'd rather be judged by 12 and carried by. For me, I might be carried by 10. Um, just
But
just like 10 years ago would be 6.
yeah.
10 years later it's probably 10. Probably another
So
2 years will be 12.
I mean, the Casull, my dad's Casull, the revolver. In the bear kit, they have not only the bear mace, but they also have a 50 caliber revolver in there. Um,
Oh,
and
see, now you're talking my language, right?
yeah, so the Casull also would protect you from like moose and elk. That it's just a mean
I think,
round. But the
yeah, that
50
thing hits
caliber is a little
hard.
bit more potent for that too. So let's talk about locations. So let's talk about, just for the sake of hi Vanessa
Hey,
Kitty.
Vanessa Kelly, how you
Yeah.
doing, Vanessa?
Yeah, iguanas. Yeah, a little bit
Iguanas, yeah.
more necessary than iguanas. So let's talk Florida, let's talk Montana, and let's talk Alaska. And then if anyone who's on the chat right now wants to chime in with their location, and we can talk about, the wildlife in their location and what would be appropriate. So one of the things that I carry if I'm out like fishing, or if I'm going to be, out camping, is I carry my tourist judge. And the reason being is I can put my Colt 45 longs in there. So using a Casul on a moose, if it's charging you already too late, that's true. But a Casul to the head, if it doesn't kill it, it'll deter it. But mostly with moose, you just kind of just let them be and move away. Bears, different story. But she is absolutely right. If it's charging, it's already too late.
I like Benchies. So it's one of our brothers over there at Freedom Crew University. Is Benchies Goes Boom. I may or may not be located behind enemy lines in California.
So I carry my tourist judge because I have my Colt 45 longs. And then I can also put a 410 gauge in there with birdshot or slugs. So I carry the different things. So if I come across like a pissed off poisonous snake, I can just rotate the cylinder, because I stagger my rounds to the birdshot and easily take it out. But a Colt 45 long will very much deter an alligator as well. The key is not to have a really big, long, thing that's hard to maneuver. You want to be able to pull it, aim and fire. You don't have a ton of time.
Yeah, you don't want to look like Martin Short from the Three Amigos, right? With the revolver with like the barrel that's like this big, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you want something
pulling it out of your pants,
Yeah.
So a moose wants to walk down the path, and you're on such a. So, yes, that is 100% correct. So my father used to, when we used to fish out in Montana, there was a place he called Rattlesnake Creek, which it was this slow moving river that we used to go out there and fish for trout. But it had to be like the breeding ground of rattlesnakes. They were freaking everywhere. On the road, you would see so many rattlesnake carcasses. It was just incredible. And he would carry a 22 long revolver on a holster, and it was all with shot on the ends.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there with him, and he goes, "Yeah, stay high on the rocks." And all of a sudden he's sitting there, he's fishing, he makes a step, he goes, and without looking, he just pow, puts a thing back in the holster and keeps fishing. And I was like, holy crap. Then it dawned on me when I got older, my dad took me when I was 10 years old to a rattlesnake infested location. Did he have insurance out on me?
You look like the scene from Indiana Jones when they drop him down with all the snakes. These rattlesnakes around you.
It was crazy sauce. So now in Alaska, you have some big things out there that are just nasty as hell. So
here's a question.
Mace, huh?
Thinking about the rattlesnake, going back to the rattlesnakes. Thinking about rattlesnakes, have you ever tried the bear spray a rattlesnake? I wonder if it would work.
Yeah, but do you want to take that chance?
I was just curious if it would work. I mean, if you have nothing,
Yeah.
I mean,
If you
if
had
I had
nothing,
nothing, I would totally try it. But
I would
it'd
too.
be nice to know if it would work before I did.
Yep. Yep. 48 Vanessa Kitty is saying a 44 mag with a tiny barrel is not your best option. No, that kicks like a
No,
mule. But you know what? A 50 cal with a tiny barrel also kicks
yeah,
like a mule. I shot
yeah,
one over my buddy Mike. Let me shoot his 50 cal five shot revolver, tiny little barrel on it, and boom, and oh wow, there's a kick. Yeah.
is it
Um,
ported?
huh?
Did he have
I
the barrel ported?
I don't know, but I know that he actually shot a bear with it once that was charging him. And there's
Because
a
I
picture
know
of him with a bear.
I've been out to the range with a Smith and Wesson 500. It's got a. I thought it was a 4-inch barrel. It was ported. I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't fun, but it wasn't awful either.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it would depend on how the gun's set up. But anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
So Vanessa Kitty just was stating here, ever stand along a river fishing when the brown bears are eating next to you? Yeah. I would be salmon fishing and they're out salmon fishing as well. And it's ironic because of the bears feeding and you're not challenging them. We didn't have any problems with them, and we've had them walk right by us and go right in the water, and we just slowly bring our line in, and we slowly move down, get out of their way. Bears can take precedence. 629. I have no idea
I think
what
she's
she's.
talking. I think she's talking about her. This comment right here. Earlier, she
Oh,
said
okay.
a 692 8 3/8 inch barrel.
Uh,
I think she was correcting that to a. She was a little dyslexic on the 92 there.
aren't we all just a little dyslexic usually?
Man, I'm happy that my driver's license has my picture and my name on it
Right? Where you go
because
like, that's who I
well, like
am.
that's yeah okay cool. I now know who I am. Dyslexic. I think I just lost my memory.
Uh, I'm dyslexic, and so am I. Um, but it it's ironic because people are like, oh, I have my lever action, 44 meg, and I just take that with me, and I'm like, the
Yeah,
longer
but
the barrel, the harder it is to maneuver in a
plus
rush.
you got to also trek that thing around with you too, right?
Wait, yep,
I mean, that's why people kind of laughed at me with the M1 Garand, but I'm like, it's in the truck. It's not like I'm slinging that thing and walking through the woods. It's just in the truck. We're out logging. It's basically, my 357 is to get me to, the 30 caliber rifle, if I need it. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend even carbines. That I'm not going to want to just drag that thing around in the woods with
yeah,
me. I'm going to want something.
it's plan
Yeah,
appropriate. Vanessa Kitty said the wolves in Alaska are just puppies. Come on, they're puppies, and until you start watching them ripping a calf out of an elk or a moose giving birth, they get vicious quick.
it's funny. I remember my wife and I were out logging, and I was out cutting, and like off to my left, I was like, something's watching me over there.
So yeah, we smelled bear doo doo, and a bear walked up on our blind spot and pooped right there at the knoll edge, and then walked away and sat and watched us. That's disconcerting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
So
smell bear crap? I smell bear crap.
so I was out cutting, and I'm like, something over. You get that sixth sense, right? And I'm like, something's over there. I don't know what it is. I can't see it, but something is watching me. I'm getting kind of freaked out. But I'm like, hey, I've got a chainsaw, and I look around. My wife is she was off to my right and close to the truck. I'm like, okay. So then I get done cutting, and then I start walking down. I go to cut another tree, and then like suddenly I had that feeling, but it was like kind of in front of me. And it was funny because my wife comes walking up to me and she's like, "Something's watching us." I go, "Was it over there? And now it's over there?" She's like, "Yeah." I go, "We're out. we're gone." We
Your wife
packed our
goes,
stuff up
"Where'd
and
you go,
took off.
Jason? Keep up."
Yeah. So so it was like a week later we found out that where we were logging, they had just reintroduced a pack of wolves to the woods. Like that would have been nice to know before we went logging. But yeah, we were basically we were being stalked, and it's just like it's the freakiest thing in the world. Um, Largest wolf saw in Alaska was a
So the largest wolf I saw in Alaska was a flight from Eek, Alaska. We went low just to view it. That thing was enormous. Yeah, they can be big. So if you're currently watching, won't you tell us what you take with you to protect yourselves when you're in like the backwoods, or if you're out fishing or camping? What do you bring with you to protect you and your family or your friends and everything?
or if you don't, or you want to go outdoors, what do you think you will take with you?
Yes. Yeah.
Because that'd be a good subject right there too. Um, so I mean, obviously firearms. We have bear spray. Uh, what else could we use? I mean, if you have nothing, anything can be an improvised weapon. It just might not be your best option, right? But if it's your only option, that's what you use. So what else? What about like hiking poles and stuff like that?
So I have a hiking pole, and the pole is modular, so it has sections like this that all screws together, and it's lightweight aluminum, and it's all survival gear in all the subsections. And the bottom has a tip, and you twist and pull out, and it's a spear.
MC. I use the same protection against
Avoidance.
bears I'd use with sharks.
Yes.
Avoidance. Um, and then Krabby's out there saying, if I were in Alaska, I'd want the 454 Casull Super Red Hawk. Uh, yeah, that'd be a nice gun to have.
Yeah.
God,
When my
everybody's chiming in now.
Yeah. When my father passed away, he actually left me his Gasul, which is one firearm I will never ever sell. But
But that's
I will take it if I need to protect myself.
yes, I like what Vanessa K saw. I always have a knife on me, but my knife is different. Like this is my everyday. Well, it's one of my everyday carry knives, but this is not what's going to be on me if I'm out in the backwoods. I'm going to have something a little bit bigger. Um, Benchies. Uh, I don't have much, but just print out a Glock 40. That's weird. Yeah, that's definitely an option for Benchies there. Uh, Benchies is one badass 3D printer guy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've seen some stuff that he's done. It's just really he's got some talent. I'm just jealous of. MC Grade advice.
I actually
Uh,
like this advice. How about a hiking pole bang stick?
that would be
Yeah.
cool, right?
Yeah, and just put like a 12 gauge slug on the end there,
Yeah.
and something charges it, just hold it up and pow. Um,
Yeah.
That well, that's not a horrible idea. Just don't rest it on your foot while you're
Yeah,
hiking.
that could be a problem, or you just make sure the safety's on, or else when you lift off on one thing, you might just get a little bit of a boost out of that king uh,
Yeah,
when it goes off. Um,
yeah, that
uh,
could be a and
who's
a bad
careful at this age?
situation. It could
Yeah,
be game over. Thanks for playing. Um, it says also we cannot carry in the state. Uh, where is she saying?
she
Uh,
can't see in the state lands, but only 22 if they're hunting there. Because I think she said earlier, I thought she said she was in Connecticut.
oh,
Um,
okay.
So she's not in Alaska anymore. I thought she said she was in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's in kind of a not so friendly straight state there.
Yeah. Well, see, that's why you need to think of different options because, um,
Depending on your MC,
hey, MC, I want you to
hook
send
up
me.
with Benchies. He'll get that thing 3D printed for you.
There you go. MC, when you have your prototype, I want to personally test it out here, with the alligator. So,
Oh
let
yeah,
me.
I totally want one of those.
Yeah. So remember, MC, us.
Yeah.
Hook us up. Yeah. So in Alaska, you can carry anything you want, and like I said, the laws here, um, are very specific. Yeah, as long as you're going out to camp, if you're going out to fish, or if you're hunting, you can open carry, and it's the only time you're allowed to open carry. So you can go from your vehicle to the location while you're at the location, and then back to your vehicle, and it's completely legal here throughout the state of Florida. What are the laws concerning that in Montana, or do you know?
We have laws on that. No, so before we got permitless carry, it was a little different. So you could open carry as long as you weren't within city limits, a mining camp, a railroad camp. Um, that was about it. You could conceal carry if you were hunting or doing outdoor activities, and you were outside of city limits. But then permitless carry hit, and then it's just basically like what you just do whatever. I mean, here we can open, again, we could open carry outside of city limits. If you had a gun in your car, like you had a pistol in your car, you just go rolling down the highway and just put that thing on the passenger seat. You get pulled over, as long as it was on the passenger seat, you were fine. If it was in the glove compartment, you didn't have a permit. That's when you could be actually getting in trouble. But yeah,
And
we don't have a whole lot of laws, and a lot of the archaic laws have been overturned here with the permitless carry.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, once again, if you're watching, let us know things that you specifically would carry. Um, I like that. So that's interesting, Vanessa Carey, that air gun carry is dangerous, destructive device, and is a felony. Where here in Florida, it's not considered a firearm, and you can shoot it in your backyard, and you can
Yeah,
carry it in public. It's not a firearm. So in Southern
growing,
Florida, everyone can. There's groups that carry like PCP rifles, right? And and they hunt down iguanas in populated areas, and it's completely fully legal.
it's funny because growing up as a kid, just I grew up just outside of Philly. Yeah, we had air guns on us all the time. We'd go walking down the street with air guns. Had to have my pistols and rifles, and not that big of a deal. Now, what is cool? I'm gonna pivot on that a little bit, but at shot a couple of years ago, I shot a 12 gauge slug out of an air gun. It was a two-shot 12 gauge 12 gauge air gun. When that thing hit the steel, it hit with a big thunk. Now we've talked about firearms. We've talked about bear spray, but something like the PCP guns, the pneumatic, was it pneumatic? I forget what the thing is.
Yeah, I don't
But
remember what they were.
those things you can actually hunt with,
and they do.
and if
I
you are a person that has a felony, you are not allowed to carry. You're not allowed to own a firearm, but you could own a PCP gun, and you could still go hunting and protection with something like that if you had
yeah.
a felony.
Like my PCP rifle that I have is a 22 caliber, and so for like eliminating things like iguanas, and there's people who pig hunt out here in Florida with like 30 caliber PCP rifles.
Yeah.
Pre-charged pneumatic. Thank you, Vanessa.
Yeah. 4,500 psi.
That's
And
exactly
those things,
right. She's spot on.
I'm telling you, those are not the air guns that I grew up with. Man, I see these PCPs, and I get trigger chime behind them. Yeah, right. The old I had an RWS break action, and it was those PCP guns. They're putting some heat on some projectiles, and I'm actually kind of jealous a little bit. I kind of want to get some and have some fun because it's just an awesome thing. Benji was talking. I think you could also possess a black powder gun too, and it's going back to the felons.
Right. I've run into that where in certain states, black powder pistols aren't considered firearms.
Well, they're not.
No, I mean flat out not considered. You can open carry black powder.
Well, in federal laws, they can ship that right to your house because it's not. It's not a gun.
It's not a
gun.
Well,
it's a gun. It's not a firearm as per the ATFs. But given that they're overthrowing everything else,
give it time.
They'll catch up with that. Yeah, they'll screw that one up for us later. Air guns are used for hunting here. You must have a firearm carry license, and you must meet calibers.
It's crazy.
Interesting. Of course, she's got to throw in there 50 cal from Air Force air guns from Fort Worth. Yeah.
There's a channel on YouTube.
MC, but as is a volume of knowledge. She is.
What do you think we get some of our ideas for shows here? Is like, hey, Vanessa mentioned this, Yeah.
Or we get the
awesome.
This would be really awesome if Vanessa joins this podcast in the comments. But no, it's something that we don't think about is that personal protection is still personal protection. If you have a felon, if you have a felony, an air gun might be a way to go, and you can still put a lot of hurt with an air gun. You're just not doing the whole thing of.
My 22 caliber air pistol is lethal. Yeah, absolutely 100% lethal. There's a YouTuber that his whole show is about taking squirrels out and chipmunks out in his backyard, because they're like ripping up his garden and stuff like that. And I watched one episode, and he goes, "I got these exploding pellets," and I was like, "What?" And he had just put up the video, and I was like, "Oh, I've got to go check that out," right? So I need, because I have a 22 caliber PCP, and I go there, and in the 10 minutes his video is up, they sold out, completely sold out. Like I get there, and it said like 50 in stock, right? And I added 2 to my checkout. Oh, no, I added 4 to my checkout. And when I got to checkout, it said only 2 available. And I went, yes. And I haven't tried them out yet. I'm a little nervous about it. But they use the same stuff that what is it?
Tannerite?
Yeah, Tannerite. So it's Tannerite inside the pellets. And when it hits, it explodes. And I was like, that just sounds fun.
Dude, you know what? I'm going to have to go get some Tannerite now. I'm going to have to go out to the, I'll grab some 45 bullets and go take them out to the drill press, make some hollow points, put some Tannerite in and go, let's go shoot some stuff now.
Vanessa Kitty, I can assure you, you are that popular. And be all mysterious.
Yeah, mysterious. There we go. But yeah, it's just so all right. So we talked about guns, we talked about bear spray, we talked about the future of bang sticks.
Yeah.
We talked about air guns. We talked a little bit about knives. What else? What else did we talk about?
Yeah, so I mean, I mentioned wasp spray, and there's legal ramifications for using spray, but it is very, very potent. It just works really well, not only on wasps, but on angry animals. It deters them. Um, the way I found out about wasp spray is I was watching riots in LA, and there was a store. I can't speak English. What the heck? A store owner. Um, he had like a like grocery slash hardware store, and he was on the roof. And when people were running towards his things, he was hitting them with wasp spray, and the people were just freaking out and running away, and everyone avoided him. And then across the street, or not across the street, but in another part of Los Angeles during these riots, um, you had people on roofs with Uzis. So it's wasp spray, nobody was bugging him, and Uzis, nobody was bugging them either. Ninja stars.
Ninja
I don't know
stars.
how effective that's going to be
Ninja
against
stars.
a bear. It might be he can use it to pick his teeth after he eats you. But some of the things that I have heard have been absolutely ridiculous. I was like, well, I carry a pocket knife. I'm like, really? Against a bear, are you?
You're not. Look, you're not going to get anywhere with that blade. All you're going to do. This is going to be like a 9mm to a bear.
Or probably
maybe,
less, or like a 22.
Maybe a 22 to a bear. I just don't think it's gonna. I just don't think it's gonna do. See, the shockwave shotgun with a 15-round 10mm strap to your leg. Yeah, it's that'd do it.
I like the way MC thinks.
Yeah, I do too. It's we're getting a little
And
bit
as a
of
kitty, you gotta move. You gotta move. I'm just saying, you're not a friendly neighborhood out there. Um, but you got to also think about improvised weapons. If you're out in the woods and you don't have anything, you got to get primitive.
yeah.
I've tied. So I usually carry. Oh God, what's that Marine Corps knife? I forgot the name of it.
K-bar?
Yeah, K-bar.
Okay,
So I
K-bar?
would strap that onto a heavy like pole stick and use it as a spear.
Get some distance. Yeah.
I mean, it's one of my absolute favorite all-time knives. I love that knife.
I mean, that's the thing though, is that if you get the more primitive you get, the less chances, depending on what you're fighting, the less chances of survival you have. But any chance of survival is better than zero.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, it's no different than your protection of every day. Any chance is better than no chance.
Exactly.
But you gotta get creative.
Right. And it's also important to realize some people don't like firearms. Fine.
Yes.
Get bear mace. Get wasp spray. Get something that's going to be a strong deterrent, and use that. Sharp stick, burnt in a fire to harden the tip. Been there.
Go for it.
Yeah. It's
done that number of times.
Have to be a firearm, but your chances of survival if you're attacked are greatly increased if you have a firearm. And it's just that's what baffles me is I don't like guns. Well,
there's other options.
It beats dead.
Yeah, exactly. It does. That's the thing is it's no different than when I get anti-gun people to talk to me like, or not even anti-gun people. There are people like I don't like guns. Okay, fine. It's your right to have one. If you choose not to have that right, that's up to you. That's your decision, not mine. It's the same thing with protection outdoors. If you're not going to take, if you don't like the most effective means of protecting yourself, that's your choice. Choose something else. Just
exactly. So let's quickly just talk about what you would use depending on the situation. So in Louisiana, they hunt alligators with 22s. And people are like, all I need is a 22. And I'm like, no. The way they hunt them is they bring them up on a hook, right? Because they bite the bait. and then they shoot them in the back of the head, with a 22. So bang sticks and large caliber rifles can hunt alligators. That hide is very, very thick. So you need something that's going to go really, really go into it. For snakes, bird shot, like I would say number 9 bird shot, spectacular. It would spread out enough and put enough pellets into it to kill the snake. For coyotes, if you're in like coyote country or wolf country, or wild boar country, you could even do a 223, because the ammo's cheap, and if you can get a 30 round magazine. Remember, a lot of these things aren't by themselves.
Gotta remember, it's not a 30 round magazine; it's a 100 round chamber.
Yes. So if you have 100 round,
you gotta have a 100 round chamber.
Crazy sauce. So with bears, really nothing less than a Casull, a 4.54, nothing less than a 4.54. Your best bet when you're going against the bear for self-protection, people are like, well, I've got, big caliber rifles. It takes time. It's better to be able to grab that pistol, bring it out. And it's got to be like a 50 cal, or a 4.54, to protect you against a bear. A moose, I've seen moose charge people in Alaska, and there's your defense against a moose is, once it charges, all you can do is
just don't be there.
Yeah, you need to not be there at all. And then like elk is the same way. Elk get very, very aggressive.
They do.
Vanessa, it's a good point. A 44 meg does work on a bear. I'd rather have a Casull. So I'll reiterate. She is correct, because she lived in Alaska a long time. I would not take anything less than a 44 meg. I would prefer to not do anything less than a 4.54. And if you really just want to make sure, they have short barrel 50 cals, and they will do it. Killed my first black bear. That bear was split open from the chest downwards doing it. My God. Vanessa Kitty is like,
she's a badass.
She's like the female representation of Rambo.
I was getting ready to say she's Shibo.
Yeah, Shiba. Wolves and a 44 Magnum, a 45 ACP, are good on wolves. If you want to carry a handgun, for things like pigs and so coyotes and pigs. Now let's just go back to coyotes. A 0.17 HMR works fine.
Get some speed behind it.
Get some speed. So keep in mind, when it comes to shooting any animal, whether you're protecting or hunting, speed kills. The faster that bullets traveling on impact, the more of a cavity change it's going to do inside, and go for a faster kill. And it's speed. It's all about speed. A family member was on a recovery team for an F-16 that went down deep in Canadian territory. They were issued 5.56. He said the locals just laughed and started handing out 12 gauges. 12 gauges. Yeah. Oh, that's crazy sauce. Now they do make something called a snake charmer. It's a single shot 410 gauge, short barreled, one hand shotgun, and it kind of holds to your hand, and it's so lightweight, and they call them snake charmers. They're actually advertised as snake charmers. And those are great for snake populated areas, but they're fairly useless against everything else, unless you want to hit a bird and and then spit out pellets all day during dinner. But you gotta really if you get anything out of this conversation here, you have to analyze the hostile animals in your location. So if I'm going to go camping, let's say I'm going to go camping over here in XYZ, I need to understand the animals in that location. Are there bears? Are there wolves? Are there coyotes? Now, coyotes are little pains in the ass. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, they
But
are.
you need to know. I mean, it's like when I go fishing. Do you know how many videos are out there where a guy's walking along and this alligator comes up and grabs the person's dog and yanks it back into the water, and you never saw that son of a bitch? I have seen videos where an alligator is swimming by with a dead dog in its mouth underwater. Children are about the size of dogs. So the key is there's this fantastic video of this guy, and this alligator jumps out, grabs his Cavalier King Charles Spaniel puppy, pulls it in the water, and he jumps in the water, grabs the alligator, and pries the jaws open to release it. He got injured pretty badly, with his things, but threw it in there and grabbed his dog. Dog survived. And it wasn't a full-grown alligator, thank God. It was, like I would say maybe a teenage-sized alligator. But I mean, that took some guts there. But then again, Cavaliers are several thousands of dollars, and that ain't happening. Fishing in Alaska, out in the ocean, I used my sidearm to shoot the halibut before you hauled it onto the boat. Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, we used to make halibut clubs in wood shop when I lived in Alaska. It's like, when you make a halibut club, all right, that's cool, no questions. And then you'd buy a halibut hook and you screw it onto one side of it. But halibut have teeth, and they're big, really big.
But going back to what you were talking about, and going into the deep woods is no different than your everyday protection, right? You do, and Rob and I both are in cybersecurity, so we're used to doing this stuff. You have to do a risk assessment. What is your risk, and how are you going to try to mitigate those risks? You're not going to get rid of them; they're always there. But how are you going to? My camera lost connection to my camera again. It always happens when I'm with. It always happens when I'm on with Lupo too. But yeah, it's always one of those things of you got to do a risk assessment. What's going on? What do you anticipate running into? And then how are you going to mitigate that risk? I mean, it might be that you decide, like if I had known that they were reintroducing wolves to where I was logging, my risk mitigation would have been I would have logged somewhere else. I would have gone somewhere else had I known that piece of information. So understand your environment. Keep your eyes peeled, because you don't want a bear walking up to the edge of your camp and pooping at the edge of your camp. I'm sorry, that's just funny. But it's just one of those things. If what was the saying is failing to plan. What is that quote? Failing to plan. Why can't I think of that quote now? But anyways, you don't plan to. You don't
plan to fail. You
don't plan to fail.
You fail to plan. Yeah.
So don't be that. That's just the way it is.
So we have about 7 minutes left here. First of all, I want to thank everyone who attended, or everyone who's listening to this podcast here in the future. Thank you very much. We really, really appreciate it. And we have such a great time when we do these podcasts, and just absolutely love our audience. We have some of the greatest people on the planet who come here and listen to us and interact with us. So final thoughts, Jason. If you were going, what would you take with you if you're going out into the backwoods for protection?
You see, I would actually take you, because I'm pretty sure I can outrun you.
Oh, I don't know about that.
And if I can't, you're getting shot in the back of the calf.
See, I was just going to shoot you in the foot first. It's like that old joke. It's, the guy sits there and they're being chased out of the woods by a bear, and the guy stops and starts putting on his running shoes. And the guy goes, "What are you doing? You can outrun the bear." He goes, "I don't have to outrun the bear."
This guy outrun you.
So, I mean, like, if you're out there in Montana, what would you carry?
I carry. It depends, but most of the time I carry 357.
Okay.
Because where I'm at, I'm not, because of my knees and everything. I'm not out doing the deep hikes that I do, that I used to do. It's usually 357. If I'm lazy, one of my 45s. Either my SIG 220 or one of my 1911s. But that's only if I'm going to be like near the truck, right? And then in the truck, I'll have. I used to carry my M1 Grand, but that rifle needs some work. So right now I'm keeping bear races. I will carry like
remember
my
this is
308
deep
AR.
woods, not by your truck. Deep woods.
Yeah. I'll carry but I just don't go deep woods anymore. I can't do it.
So
But deep
here in Florida, my backyard's
deep
deep woods because if there's water, there's alligators.
But if I was doing deep woods, a Glock and 10mm for out here.
Okay.
First of all, the Glock is just such a reliable firearm, and the 10mm the 10mm hits like a 357. So I would probably go with something like that. If really money was no option, I'd like to have a like 50. With Smith & Wesson 50, I'd love to have that if I'm really going deep.
I would love to have one too. See, out here in Florida, my two go-tos is my Taurus Judge because I have the flexibility of my ammo, and my Casull. And those are my two things. My Taurus Judge is 410. Like I said, it's a 410 shell or it's a Colt 45 long, which I absolutely love that round. So I can with the 410 shell, I can do slugs, pellets, bird shot, flexibility on the shell, and then I have flexibility also with the 45 45 long. And then with my Casull, if it's big and I hit it with a Casull, it's not going to move a lot after that. And that's the closest thing I have to a 50 cal.
Yeah. And I like your idea of the Judge, just because of that ability to change out what you're doing. For me, even though we have rattlesnakes here, honestly, I have not seen a rattlesnake. And I've actually have never heard one when I was out. Now, I've been in areas where there has been, and most of them are state parks. They warn you about the rattlesnakes, but I don't know what it is. As much as snakes freak me out, I'm just not worried about running into a snake when I'm out in the woods.
I get that.
I don't know why.
Irony is I saw so many rattlesnakes when I was in Montana.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's because your father used you as bait.
Yeah, pretty much. If they bug him, then they won't bug me. So, I mean, when I was in Alaska, I used to love hiking. And so, I mean, you can pretty much carry whatever you want, but when you're a kid, so we go to the, I don't know if I ever told you the story, but we would go to our favorite hiking trails over by Thunder Mountain in Juneau. And they had this wonderful trail. And what they had was these bin boxes. And you would open the boxes and they would be these like jingle bells that you would tie around one of your ankles. And so as you're walking, it would make noise so not to startle a bear. And they said, what you need to do is, be aware of your trail, look for bear signs like, footprints, right? or bear scat. And the way you can tell it's bear scat is it has jingle bells in it.
Well, we are at the end here.
Yep, we are.
I have no video that launched this week because this is the off week for the channel, but I do have video next week. But we can talk about that in the next podcast. But I do have a podcast on Sunday coming out where we are going to talk about how to choose the correct holster. I've got a great guest on there. She did another podcast with me before about how to choose a gun that fits your hand. So now we're going to talk about carrying that thing. What you got going on?
So I've been putting up a lot of long form and tons of shorts. So several of my shorts that have been up are on bass fishing. So if you're a bass fishing fan, check out my shorts. It's advice on lures and what you need to do to hit fall bass. I'm going to be putting up part 3 of my quest to 1,000 yards. And I had an instruction, because as a shotgun shooter, I never shot 1,000 yards before. So part 1 and part 2 are up on my channel right now. And then part 3, which is Fun Day, which I got to shoot a lot of things I never shot before and had the best time doing. I also have a short up of me shooting a 50 cal BMG for the first time on Fun Day. So check that out too. And I'm going to try to squeeze in one more video over that as well early in the week. But, hey, come and check me out. If you're not subscribed to our channels, please subscribe. Help us grow and help the channel as much as you can. Please like and subscribe this podcast if you're watching it on a computer or your phone. And thanks again to Jason for joining us. Thanks to everybody who is watching us. And we will see you next week. Hey, Jason, what's our theme next week for our podcast? It's your turn.
Well, what's funny is we actually did this backwards. I'm supposed to be over there, and you're supposed to be over here. I screwed that up when we set everything up.
Yep, thanks.
So actually, it's you had the idea.
I had this idea.
No, I had this idea.
Shh.
I had this idea. I totally came up with it yesterday too.
That's right, you did, because I was like, what are we going to talk about?
You had an idea you floated earlier, so your turn.
What was my idea? I don't remember.
I don't even remember what your idea is.
Hey, how about it be a mystery? Stay tuned. We'll let you know on Wednesday what our talk about is next week, Friday. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you.
Have a safe weekend, everybody.